Well, hello. I'm so glad you stopped in today. I was thinking about making a gift bag for my dad's Father's Day gift. So I started watching some videos. And it occurred to me while I was watching the videos, and there's a bazillion of them out there, that I could probably use my orphan blocks to make some really cool gift bags. So I dug out my box of orphan blocks and I started playing with some ideas. And some of the blocks really aren't big enough by themselves to become a project. But if you put them together, this can happen. Isn't this fun? And it was so quick and easy. I used up 4 orphan blocks and some more out of my scrap fabric, and it turned out great. And I bet it didn't take me 10 minutes, even including the time to put the blocks together. But then I got to thinking, if I'm going to tell people how to do this, maybe I need to give them an idea of how big the bags could be. So I dug out some of my old bags. Yeah, I save old bags. Shouldn't be a shock to anyone. But if you're sizing this up, you can see how you can kind of wrap halfway around. And that's going to give you a pretty good approximation on how big the bag is going to be. And that's really helpful if you have maybe something like this. And this is adorable. This would make a cute gift bag for a kid, but it kind of limits the size. But again, I pulled out a gift bag, kind of centered it. It was like, okay, so that's the size bag it would be. That's a good size bag, actually. So I'm not really worried about that. Okay, let's get started. Come over to the sewing machine and I'll show you what I'm working on. What I have here are those Drunkard's Path blocks from an old project, and I have put 4 of them together so that it makes a nice size bag. And I found some of the leftover fabric to make the backing for it. And what I'm just finishing up is putting a seam here on the edge because we're going to make our casing first and you don't want your raw edge showing. So let me just finish this little bit and then we'll make our casing. Now I'm not measuring, I'm just turning under a wee bit of fabric, probably close to 1/4 of an inch. You don't have to do this step. You could leave the edges raw, maybe just zigzag the edges or something so they don't fray. The next step is to create the casing. And to do that, oopsies, I need something for a drawstring. So let's break out the handy dandy ribbon box. You don't have to use ribbon. You could use, I don't know, maybe some leftover binding that you've just got strips you want to use. I have used these decorative cords and I learned that they fray really badly. So you can use them, just know you're going to have to treat them with some heat and give yourself extra in case it starts fraying. But I've got this little piece of ribbon here. I have no idea why I have so much ribbon. I don't make clothes and I don't use ribbon on um, my quilt projects. I'm not really sure where this all came from. Oh, we're going to use it. All right. Let me adjust my camera for you so you can get a little better idea of what I'm going to be doing next. Now you can see I've got the front and the back laying together, and we're going to guesstimate how much of this drawstring we're going to need. And I'm going to go the full length plus one of the sides. So 3 drawstring lengths, and this will give you plenty to use as your drawstring. This will give you plenty to use for a drawstring once you get your bag ready to go. I'm going to go over to the iron and I'm going to press this down once just to make it easier for me to do this, to make the casing, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back from the ironing board and I've just eyeballed and turned this under a wee bit. And I just did that to make it easier on myself. You don't have to do that step. What I'm going to do though is we're going to fold this over to make our casing, and we're actually going to leave that little bit of ribbon right there. I'm going to put a clip there to hold it, and we're going to make our casing. You'll notice I haven't measured anything. I'm eyeballing it all. And that's okay, because to the best of my knowledge, the quilt police do not have a gift bag division. So nobody's going to come and measure my stitches. So to make sure you're not getting your ribbon caught in the casing, just kind of tug on it and make a nice straight line. There we go. I did a little back stitch there. You don't have to, but we know it's going to be under, that seam is going to be under a little bit of stress, potentially. And again, just pulling my ribbon taut and sewing along. But I think you can see how much easier it is to do this if you've already pressed that top edge. There we have it. We've got our casing. The ribbon moves through easily. I'm going to go ahead and just tie these ends together. And then we're going to finish making this bag lickety split. To finish this bag, I'm going to start this side seam just at the area of where the casing starts. We're just going to reinforce that just a wee bit, but we don't want to catch the ribbon. We're going to sew down both sides, and I'll show you how to close the bottom. All right, now you can see these don't match up. Probably my casings are off by a silly millimeter or two, but I don't care. what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this twice and make a seam across the bottom. So you've got a nice sturdy bottom. So you can put anything you want in here. It could be now my machine is struggling because there are a lot of seams coming together. But just take your time. It'll work. Again, you don't have to do this step. You could just turn it once if you don't mind the frayed edges on the inside. Or if you're just, putting jewelry or something light in this, that's fine. But I have no idea what I'm going to use this gift bag for. We're going to turn it out. This bottom corner will not be perfectly square because, well, it's a big heavy seam there. It's been doubled over. It'll look okay though. And there it is. I'm going to trim these little ends here. And there it is. Isn't that beautiful? I'm going to show you some other finishing things I did. Just if you're going to make these and sell them at a craft, you might want to do some little finishing touches. For example, I did some stay stitching around these seams here, just so it won't be so ravelly on the inside, no matter how many times this gets used. Let me show you the other bags I've made. Well, here's the bag I just finished. It's actually really cute on both sides, and the drawstring is perfect. Or you could use it from either side. It doesn't matter. This is the one I made earlier out of my friendship star blocks from an old project. This is the one that I used the cord on, and it started fraying, so I had to get my lighter out after it and kind of melt those ends. But this is a perfect size for like a wine bottle or whatever you want to use it for. And again, on this one, I did some stay stitching along this outline because this block was all pressed open seams instead of to one side. So I just wanted to reinforce those seams and help them stay sturdy. See how nice it is on the inside? Everything's covered up. You're not going to get a lot of ravels. Making this video, I probably spent 15 minutes. That shows you how fast this project can be. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, stay tuned for the next one. I'm going to be starting a sampler quilt. We're going to add a little twist to it, of course. See you next time.